What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at this brand new 2022 Hyundai Veloster N with a 6-speed manual transmission. Let's get right into this really cool 3-door hot hatch. And the model that we're looking at today is finished off in racing red and has an MSRP at $33,500. Underneath the hood of the Veloster N, you're going to find a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine producing 273 horsepower with 260 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a 6-speed manual transmission, or a dual clutch is also available, and it sends all the power to these front wheels through a limited slip differential. Overall curb weight is 3,100 pounds for the manual, and it can do 0 to 60 in around 5 seconds and top out at 139 miles per hour. The Veloster also runs on a 13.2 gallon fuel tank and can get 22 miles per gallon in the city with 28 out on the highway. The overall length is 167.9 inches with wheelbase at 104.3. Overall height is 54.9 and width is 71.3 inches. And then now moving to the exterior styling with this bright red Veloster N. This is a very sporty looking hot hatch. We get a set of LED headlights that have a blacked out housing, and you can also see the LED DRLs down below. They have a really sporty appearance. We get a massive gloss black grille with your Hyundai logo right in the center and the N logo over on the left side. We get a really cool design for all of the mesh, and it certainly adds to the aggression. Towards the sides, you can see this gloss black trim piece cutting towards the farthest area, and you even get a silver piece in the center of this trim with an opening on the left side to direct air around the front bumper. There's a silver aluminum colored piece right in the center with a body colored splitter, and I really like how this front bumper has sharp lines to it, and yet it's got some round sculpture. Everything flows its way to this hood with sharp lines in the center, and it really fits the proportions of the Veloster. And then we get 19-inch wheels in all 4 corners, finished off in a 2-tone gloss black machined silver, and they're a split 5-spoke. You get a really sharp line around this front fender arch that cuts its way through the doors, and then a really cool looking design for this lower side skirt. A little winglet is on the back. There's nice contours all throughout. You can even see the N logo in the back of it. I like how they're adding that touch. And then we get the same sculpture around this rear fender. You can also see how this third door has a black handle on the top portion, and then we get a set of body colored door handles for both front doors. There's also gloss black mirror caps with an LED turn signal all integrated, and then black trim around the windows. I love the proportions of the Veloster. It certainly looks super sporty and has that small footprint. And then moving our way towards the rear end of this car, we get a gloss black spoiler mounted on the top portion of this liftgate, and there's even a carbon fiber look design on the far sides. You can see the 2 levels of it that has a really sporty look, and we even get a triangular shaped third brake light up top. And then at the rear end of the car, we get a nice small window back here with your windshield wiper as well as the trunk release. Hyundai and Veloster is right in the center with the N logo on the right, and then we get a Y shape in these LED taillights. They have a really nice look, and they blend super nicely to this rear bumper. We get a ton of aggression all throughout with a massive gloss black rear diffuser. There's cool mesh designs on the farthest sides, and then we get a dual exhaust. Has a really wide proportion down here, and from this angle you can really see how wide this car is. And then moving towards the interior, we have Hyundai's key fob with your N logo on the backside, and when you keep this car locked, you can just leave the key fob in your pocket and grab the door handle. You have a button back here you can press to lock or unlock it, and we can check out this interior. The Veloster N is going to get a black interior with light blue accents all around, and a combination of leather and cloth on these bucket seats. If we move our way to the door panel, finished off all in black, you get some soft touch material for your armrest and a really large grab handle that can even double as storage. All 3 of your window controls. We have lock and unlock with mirror controls. Then we have a nice dark color for your release handle. We get a speaker up front, part of the Infinity audio system, and storage down below. And then moving our way inside, we get an aluminum piece on this door sill with the N logo, and then all manual controls for these bucket seats. You can also see the smooth leather on the sides with the fabric in the center with a cool blue stripe. They have really large bolsters down below, and same for your backs, and they are single piece backrests. We get silver trim in the center with an illuminated N logo, and then more stitching up these headrests. Certainly a cool looking seat for the car. And then we get a round steering wheel with perforated leather on the sides, all blue stitching, and even the N logo down below. And then now inside the Veloster N, keep my foot on the clutch, we can go ahead and fire it up. We get an analog gauge cluster with your tach over on the left as well as your speed over on the right, and then a small LCD screen right in the center, and you can configure that using the buttons over on this right side of the steering wheel. We have a pages icon that you can scroll through, then we have your up and down arrows. So if I go all the way over now into this far menu, you can see tire pressure and a few more settings that will come up. Then here we have some performance and gauges. You can see what you get, pretty cool setup. And then in the center we have some more trip information and things like that. And in the last menu you can see your compass. Along the steering wheel over on the left side we have some Bluetooth and audio controls. Then we also get cruise control settings to the right with your rev match as well as your steering assist. We have a race mode button right here, and then your drive mode's on the left side. You toggle this icon and you can go between a normal, sport, and then an eco mode, and that even changes the exhaust valve. The race mode, when you tap that, gets into the custom setting, and then you can even hold it down for a few seconds, and then it goes into your custom setting that you can really dial this car into anything that you want. It'll turn everything off for driving aids. And then over on this left side you can see your blind spot alert as well as the lane keeping. Then we have one of your air vents, black along the dashboard, and some cool textures all throughout it. And then if we move our way to this touchscreen infotainment system, right in the center you can see our main home screen that even actually shows your navigation on the right side. You can scroll over. This N mode is a really cool mode that you can go into and see all sorts of different things in the car. In the custom mode, this is where you can dial in everything custom to use with that button on the right side of the steering wheel. But as you can see, you have adaptive suspension that you can really adjust, the steering and engine, rev matching, all sorts of things you can really adjust to make this car unique. Then going back home, we have your map, a few more items that will pop up. We can go under your climate control as well, and you get a pretty cool depiction. And when you mess with these controls down below, it changes how you see on the screen. It'll even turn more of a red color when you get to hotter temperature, and you can see how the fan gets larger when you do that. So I like how they've set everything up to look very cool. And then if we go ahead and put us into reverse, we get a backup camera that pops up with all of your guidelines. And then underneath the screen you can see some controls for all of your radio, media, things like that, the physical controls for your climate. And then down below we get a USB port, we get a 12 volt on the left, and then another USB over on this right side. We get quite a lot of storage space in the lower section, and then we get to the 6-speed manual shifter with black leather and blue stitching along the boot. You can even see the N logo on it and your shift pattern. Then we have traction control icon, 2 cup holders on the right with a manual parking brake. Then we can open up the center, and we get a pretty good amount of storage space in here for some smaller items. And then our glove box has a pretty good size to it as well. And then one last look at the interior. I think they did a pretty good job giving this that sporty touch, especially with these seats, the seat belts, and all of the blue accents you're gonna find. You can see it all throughout here to the start button. So definitely a nice place to be. Up top we get a sunglass holder and your dome lights. And then moving to the rear seat space, like I mentioned, this is a 3-doored car. You only get a rear door over on this passenger side. The rear door panel does get its own window switch and then a little bit of storage in the grab handle. And you can see how we get the same smooth leather with fabric in the center, 2 cup holders in the center, you even get the same seat belts, and you can get a pretty cool look at the backs of these seats. Alright, so sitting now in the back of the Hyundai Veloster, so technically this is a hatchback, I'm 5'11" and my head is just barely touching the ceiling. The area in the back I can kind of hit, so my head is a little above the backrest there and the headrest. But nonetheless, I am fitting here pretty much straight up, and even with this seat set at my height, I have good knee room and foot room. So this is a pretty comfortable car to be in for a rear seat passenger, and I like that you get the cup holders. And from back here, you can even pull these seats forwards and get them out of the way to gain access to this trunk. To take a look at the storage space, you have a button on your key fob, and there's also one on the rear. You can just grab it, it'll pop it, and you can lift it open. You can see we get a ton of space in the back of a Veloster, especially being a hatchback and front wheel drive. This goes down almost a foot, and then you have a privacy cover that can even be removed. And then with the back seats folded down, you can see just how much more storage space we get in the back of this car, certainly making it a very practical vehicle. And then you can even grab the floor and lift it up, and we get even more storage space in here. You can see the tire changing kit and then a few more items. And if I open up this rear door, these seats fold down nearly flat. Of course, you can get these out of the way, and you still get space up in front to make this a very usable car. Alright guys, so we are setting off now in the Veloster N with the manual transmission. So we've had this car for a week now, and it honestly has been a really cool car to play with. Let's go into the sport mode. Opens up the exhaust valve, tightens up the suspension, steering, and pretty much everything. It is a really easy car to just have fun in. Good power delivery from the engine. The 6-speed is an absolute blast. And I like how when you tap this button on the right side and then go into like the custom mode, it really opens up the car to drive really fun. The pops get loud, it turns all the driving aids off, and it really turns into a pretty cool little car. So with that said, let's get up to some speed now in the funnest mode possible. You can hear those pops on the exhaust. That is super cool. And then just a press of one button, back into eco mode, cruise control. We'll do the lane keeping and steering. And now the car can actually kind of drive itself. I really like how an affordable car at this price point that has that fun factor, it can then turn into a car that almost has the autonomous driving. So it's cool that Hyundai really does give you so many standard features on this car. And look, we're going around a pretty sharp turn, hands-free. That is pretty sweet to see. Of course, it's telling me to put my hands back on the steering wheel. But I like the blend of everything you get in this car. As far as normal driving, now that we're just basically in eco mode, normal driving, everything, it's a pretty comfortable car to cruise in. These seats aren't quite as comfortable as maybe the normal seats are going to be, but I find them to be pretty supportive, and once you get them in a good position, I really haven't had any complaints. We've put a full tank of gas through this car, mountain trips, all sorts of good things, and just normal driving, you do get really comfortable in the car. You get a really huge windshield, so visibility is fantastic in the forward view. All of your mirrors do a great job, and over your left and right shoulder, honestly, it's not that bad. It's not the best. You do have kind of a bulky C-pillar given the shape of the car. It's a little big back there, but when you have your mirrors poked out a little bit, that does help. So visibility is pretty decent. You do get the blind spot alert, which I think is a must, at least for how it is kind of in the back, but nonetheless, still pretty good overall. The use of materials is okay. It's a lot of plastic on everything. There's really nothing luxurious or refined about it. The steering wheel feels nice. The shifter I really like, and same with the seats. I wouldn't mind a little bit of leather or stitching like on the dash or something just to give it that little bit extra. But again, you know, we're talking about a car that's around $30,000. It's not crazy expensive. But overall, pretty good use of materials, and it's super easy to use. The manual transmission is so easy. If you are looking for your first manual transmission car, put one of these on the list. It is so easy to use. The clutch is very light, and even in traffic, which I've been in this car, I don't feel like I'm in a stick shift where I'm having to clutch it, brake it, shift it, all this stuff. It just feels so easy to operate, and I like that aspect about this car a lot. And then even in this eco mode, it's a really stable car. The wind noise and road noise isn't too bad. It's pretty comfortable in here. And when you're taking turns, the car feels really flat on its feet, and you don't feel like loose ends or any cheapness about it. It feels really solid, and I think the suspension is a big part. You get a really good suspension system that you can dial up like I showed and make it a little bit stiffer, a little bit softer. You can fine tune it or put it all into the race mode or make it all into the conservative mode. and I really noticed there is a big difference in this car from the different drive modes. So we'll go into normal mode, and you can already feel things stiffen up just a little bit and gives you a little bit better throttle response. And then the sport mode gives you that extra fun factor with the exhaust. I like it when you do the custom mode and turn everything up to the most fun option. That's when the car really comes alive, the extra pops, and the suspension stiffens up a ton. And then getting back up to speed in the fun modes. You don't really get the pops in normal sport mode. You got to go into the custom mode to get all that. But the car tightens up a lot. You have rev matching you can turn on and off. If you do it manually though, it's really easy to rev match this car. So it's so easy to operate this vehicle, and it is an absolute blast. I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from this is the fact that it can go from being a normal hatchback daily driver, really good on gas, to then a fun sports car at the end of the day, but you still don't lose any of that practicality with the trunk space, the rear seat space, and all the technology. So I think it's just a really good blend. You know, maybe this is your first car or your first manual transmission car. This is absolutely something to put on the list. So this car really does give you that blend of, it's a fun, affordable car. You're not gonna be breaking too many speed limits or, you know, any laws in it, but you can have a smile on, and it's not gonna hurt the bank account either. So I think that is about it then for a full look at the 2022 Veloster N. I really, really love the manual transmission. I have driven the dual clutch. I can link that down in the description if you want to check that out with the paddle shifters. But I think the manual is the way to go, and it really is a great package at a great price. So that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content. I'll see you guys in the next video.